Welcome back to Daytime. Let's talk about books. We have with us today author Michelle Weatherall, author of, well, of some 3 fabulous books we're going to talk about today, and a 4th and a new one coming. There's so much happening right now.
That's right.
And a really exciting event that takes place, Prose in the Park Literary Festival. So let's a little bit start about you and book writing. I can't imagine how you go from having an idea to, writing pages and pages of a story. How does that begin?
Well, in this particular series, the original one, the first one, The Symbiote, was written probably about 23 years ago. And
Really?
It sat in a drawer, just parked and forgotten. And then it was, my daughter was the one that said, well, why don't you just take the next step and publish it? And my background's in print anyway. And then the first half of the second book was written at that same time. And I had finished that off about 2 years ago. And then the third, Necropolis, was, it took about 13 months to write that.
Wow.
And it was initially supposed to be a trilogy only. And the idea for the 4th one, which is written, it's going out, beta copies are going out this week, was I got a lot of feedback from fans of the incidental secondary characters throughout the whole series. And they were wondering what happened to them, what's going on with them. And the whole final 4th book is a wrap-up of all the loose ends.
Of everything. Okay. So, all right. So this one you write.
Yep.
How does it even begin? Like, do you have to find an idea? So, okay, I'm going to write a book. I need an idea. Or does an idea come to you and go, holy smokes, and then you start writing?
Yeah, well, I think that, like, with mostly anything creative, I think once you get that initial germ of an idea, the rest just takes on a life of its own.
Wow.
And it runs with it. And that, in that case, in this particular case, the first opening chapter of The Symbiote was a nightmare. Literally, I woke up and what the final product looks like doesn't look like what the original nightmare was.
Yeah.
That's what fed it. And then the ideas just started moving from there.
Interesting. Now, when you started writing this one, did you know that there was going to be a second and a third and maybe a 4th? Oh, you did?
No 4th.
No 4th.
The 3rd, I had the whole 3 stories mapped out. And the 4th was something that just recently came together. And
isn't that interesting? So you write this, and then it sits in your drawer. For how many years, you said?
It's about 23 years the first one sat.
23 years.
Yeah.
When you took it out again, and you did you have to sort of reread it and fix it and adjust things?
It was almost a book never meant to happen because I went looking for the backup files and they were gone. I couldn't find them. And then what I had found was I had it online a long time ago, and I managed to literally cut and paste with code and everything. So I had to go through everything to get it back. So it was it almost never happened.
Wow.
And that was just the initial one, at least. After that, you start being a bit more careful.
Well, 23 years ago, I'm thinking, okay, we had computers and stuff 23 years ago.
Yeah, the original manuscript for it was literally typed. And it migrated through probably about 9 different computers of mine and probably about 4 different word processors. And it was just long process, that one.
Wow, yeah, I believe it. So now these books go together. There's a 4th one coming out.
Yep.
Does it matter what order I read them in? Is it
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
it does, right?
Does, yeah.
It's one of those things.
Yeah. The Symbiote's the first book. The Hunt is the second book, and Necropolis is the 3rd.
Okay, so let's show everybody. So this is, I got 2 and 3. All right, can you tell us what they're about just a little bit?
I can.
Let's do it.
In the initial one, The Symbiote, the main character is a master pianist. He's kind of jaded with music today. He wants something more. He believes there's got to be more to it. He finds this old piece of music and traces its composer's ancestor.
Okay.
And they try to figure out how to play it. And I'm not going to give a lot away. This is the opening chapter.
Got it.
What they end up finding out was it wasn't a piece of music that was lost from history. It was removed from history, because what the music does, it opens a portal outside of our universe and lets something out that shouldn't have been.
So this is like fantastic.
Yeah.
This is like, fantasy, and I
It is.
like that.
And that's the first one. Now, in that initial incident, the main character loses his wife. His motive is trying to find her in the first book. He never gets to do it because of the fallout of, I'm not going to say what happens with it. When we get to the second book, The Hunt, they allude to these clandestine military and government organizations that are aware of it, but we don't come face to face with them. In The Hunt, we do come face to face with them, and it's told from his wife's point of view. So you start seeing the other side of the coin. And by the time we get to the 3rd book, Necropolis, Necropolis is set in ancient Egypt, a 1925 archaeological dig, and today. And it weaves those 3 storylines together to its conclusion.
How fascinating. So that's the kind of book that I like to read. Very cool. So let's shift from here to Prose in the Park Literary Festival.
Yeah.
This is the third year that you participate.
Third year it's going on,
What's this event like?
It's outdoor. It's in the Parkdale Market. It's fantastic. I mean, there's about 60, I think, local authors and local publishers there. So then there's a lot more talent than a lot of people think right here.
Of course.
And you know, what I always like, so what always intrigues me so much about it is I like the independent stuff because it's not driven by an industry anymore. It's you're getting innovation and creativity right at its source. And I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. It takes place Saturday, June 10th,
Yep.
from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So how does it work? You can just arrive pretty much whenever?
You meander in, you go through the kiosks, you visit the authors or whoever you want. Everybody will have something of their own work available, and you can chit-chat with people, and it's a day event.
So it's a day event where you can meet authors, and then can you purchase any of their books? So if I
Absolutely.
go,
Yeah.
can I pick up these guys?
They will all be there, yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's talk about this. I noticed this here, selected poetry. So you wrote novels, but you also have poetry.
Yes, that's a collection of poems.
Okay.
They're dark poems. They're not happiness and sunshine. They're,
Okay.
They're from a darker period. And the funny thing about that one is it's very scary publishing a book and being out there because you're out in the world right now, right?
Okay.
With poetry, I find it's different because with fiction, at the end of the day, if they don't like it, you know, it's fiction. It's just storytelling, right?
Yeah.
When you're getting into poetry of your own work, they're actually glimpsing into your soul a little bit. They're seeing a little aspect of you. And I know what I hesitated for the longest time before I published that one because you feel almost like you're naked in front of the world.
Beautiful.
And it was a friend of mine that actually said, that convinced me. They said, most people won't see that. They'll read what they see into it themselves.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today. I invite
problem.
everyone to look for these books. They're fabulous. Check out Prose in the Park Literary Festival on June 10th at Parkdale Park. It's time for a quick break. And when we come back, we're talking about another great cause for autism. Stay with us.